feel like of all the marketing people out there who are telling you how to do marketing or telling you how to create content, you kind of stand out as the fun one, really. Like, you're really fun to follow and you're really fun to read and be around. And my sense is that that's your personality. But I want to ask, is that like a strategic decision on your part, or are you just kind of being you and it just kind of comes together that way?
Yeah. Thank you for that, first of all. And yeah. I think the answer is both, really. It's not either or, right? It's not, is it a strategic decision or is that just your personality? The reality is that it is my personality. I'm actually probably, 10x as goofy in person as I present online. But at the same time, it is a strategic decision that I made. And the reason why I think that's important, and I guess why I think it has relevance for all of us as writers, as creatives, essentially, everybody here, is because I think the more you are, the more relatable that you are. And there's a little bit of irony in that because, you think, the more individual you are, the more you're showing yourself. And brands struggle with this all the time, by the way. The way that the more you show yourself, then the more you're going to repel people, right? They're going to be like, I don't know, I can't relate to that. But I actually think that the opposite is true. I think that the more that you show up authentically, and the more you share who you are and show your personality, then the more relatable you are. And I think relatability is so important to building trust and building affinity in this world where, you said it at the very beginning, we live in this sort of sea of same. Right? There are so many other content marketing experts out there. There's so many other people who I think of as fantastic writers, but I can't really compete with them on that level. I mean, so yes, I'm a decent writer. It's like, yes, I understand content marketing. I know how to use it to build relationships and to build audiences. So what makes you different? And what makes me different is that I sort of infuse it with this relatability, right? Which is with my personality, with using humor. And it plays out in a million different ways, just through my social presence, through my writing, through my newsletter, which you mentioned. You even see it on the Marketing Prof site, like that accordion picture. I'm standing there like this, that accordion picture is an example of that, where, anybody else can potentially have a B2B conference, but nobody else is going to do it quite exactly how we will. And so I think adding, layering on that relatability, that sense of being personable, not personal, but personable, is so key to growing your business, whether you're a brand, whether you're a writer, whether you're a marketer. I don't think it really matters.
Yeah, that's great. I want to dig into that a little bit more specifically for writers, kind of as we go. Yeah. Before we do, I'm going to sort of switch directions a little. This is related, but so on your Marketing Prof site, you talk about how rather than focusing on the end result, right? So marketers are always talking about getting clicks and converting buyers, and just like that's what everybody wants, right? Money. Like everybody wants that bottom line to happen.
Yep.
But for you say that instead of focusing on that, we should focus on community, confidence, and craft, right?
Yes.
Those are the three things.
Yes.
So, and then the clicks follow after that, right? So can you talk a little bit about those three pillars and what that means?
Yeah. So essentially, when we talk about those three things, community, confidence, and craft, through the Marketing Prof's lens, remember our audience is 100% marketers. And so what we mean by that is when you focus on building a community around you, around your brand, around your products and your services, instead of just focusing on the selling, then ultimately, the clicks will follow. People will want to buy from you because you would have done the necessary work to build community, right? To build trust, to build affinity, to show people who you are. I think that marketers get into trouble when they don't think about, helping and they just think about selling, right? They just think about, just hammering as many messages as they can. And a super simplistic way to look at that would be that any brand, any company, you can send spam all day long, right? You can hammer your email list, you can hammer your database with buy this now kind of messaging all day long. And will that convert? Sure. That's why spam exists, right? A certain percentage of that will probably convert. Yeah. But the reality is that, of course, you don't want to do that because, unless you truly are a spammer, then I don't know what you're doing here. But Anyway, that being said, you don't want to do that, right? More, it's ultimately going to pay off more long term if you think about building a relationship. So that's what we mean by community. It's really about connecting more deeply with the people you serve. It's about selling. It's about serving before selling. So that's what we mean by that. The second thing is confidence. And I have been marketing to marketers for a very long time at Marketing Profs for 20 years. And before that, I founded a company called clickz.com, which was one of the first sources of basically information on how to use this nascent thing called the internet to market online. And my experience over those 20 plus years of speaking directly to marketers is that marketers are sort of always feeling like they are slightly insecure, right? So many marketers didn't go to school for marketing, and so many marketers just sort of came into it sideways, or they kind of fell into it. And so what we are saying is that when you slow down and get the necessary training that you need, whether it's through, AWAI, or whether it's through Marketing Profs, or whether it's through, just your own effort to educate yourself, you will inherently become a more skilled and confident marketer, which ultimately would translate into stronger marketing programs. So that's the confidence piece of it. And then the third piece is craft. Really, that's about thinking through what's the most effective way to create a message that will resonate. We were just talking a second ago about how to differentiate, right? When another way to look at that conversation that we just had about being relatable is that my craft really is what I layer on top of everything that I do. And so ultimately what you want to do is find those times to be creative and ultimately lean into that creativity a little bit through the marketing that you do. One of the things that I always think about when I think about craft is through everything that I publish or produce. So every webinar that I give, every event that I'm speaking at, every newsletter that I publish, every blog post, am I proud of this? Does it make me feel proud as a marketer to be connecting with people and sharing this information that will help them? And so that's, maybe feels like kind of a soft metric. It's not a hard metric like conversions will be, but I deeply believe that if you focus on those three things, on community, and if you focus on building up your confidence as a communicator, as a marketer, and if you always pay attention to your craft, ultimately the rest will follow. You can't flip it. I don't think you can flip it, but if you focus on those three things, I think ultimately it will pay off long term. And Bonnie, that's what I've built my career on. And so I will, that's a hill I will die on, as they say.
So we're talking a lot about creating content and putting it out there.
Yeah.
And I know this is really broad, but can you define what would be good? What is good writing? If a writer were to put themselves out there and just create a bunch of content, how would you define good writing in that sense?
Good writing is fundamentally something that has value for the reader, full stop. It's not about grammar. It's not about structure. It's not written in a certain way. Instead, it's what you have to say conveyed in a way that makes the audience engaged, right? That compels your audience. And so that's it. If that means that it's that it's written in very buttoned up kind of, formal language because that's what your audience relates to, then that's good writing. If it's written in sort of slang and not even complete sentences, but yet your audience relates to it and loves it, then that's good writing. So I don't think that good writing follows the way that we've always thought about good writing or the way that we were graded on it in school. Instead, it's ultimately whatever connects with your audience and conveys what you want to say in a way that engages them and that connects with them emotionally.
That's great. That's a really great, succinct way to put it. I love that. You did an interview for our Barefoot Writer a while ago, our Barefoot Writer magazine, and where you said, reading this from a page right now, the two kinds of people are those who think they can write and those who think they can't, and often both are wrong, which I think is hilarious. But you said that most of us fall somewhere in the middle and that we're all capable of good writing if we just work the muscles. Is basically what you said. Can you expand on that? What are some of the muscles we should be working to become a better writer?
Yeah, so just to go back to that quote for a second, that's an everybody writes as well. There is this idea that in the world, that there are people who think they can write and there's others who think that they can't, and usually both are wrong.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is I think about I think it was Bertrand Russell, I think, said that that the problem, what is it? Oh, I have to think about this for a second. The problem with the world is that the stupid are cocksure while the intelligent are full of doubt.
Yes.
Have you ever heard that phrase? And I think that applies to writers so often, because very often the whether they're marketers or business owners or people who identify as writers who I speak with, or call themselves writers who I speak with, if they say, "Oh, I can't write," very often they can. They have some preconceived notion in their head of what good writing looks like.
Right.
And so I think that's an example of the intelligent being full of doubt. Like, do you know how to communicate with your audience? Then you're a good writer. So just own it. Just own it.